What is up, guys? It is your boy N607 here. Welcome to a brand new review video. Today I'm going to be reviewing Persona 5 Royal for the Switch. This game just recently got ports to all major consoles, that being PS5, Steam, and then the Xboxes, and of course the Switch, which has gotten quite a good amount of attention because of the fact that Persona fans have begged for the longest time to play their game on the Switch, and now that we can finally do that. But the question is the port really good or is it not so good? Well, it's showtime. Let's take a look. Now, before I get into this review, I do want to mention a couple things. First of all, this review is going to be more based around how the port job was done because I've already reviewed this game before. So if you want to see that, I'll leave an end card at the end of this video so you can check out my actual thoughts on the game in more detail. But yeah, also I should probably mention that I have a lot of bias because if you don't know, Persona 5 Royal is my favorite game of all time. It is, so expect some bias in this video. But let's go right into it. Starting off with the presentation, which is probably the most important thing. Now, if you've never played Persona 5 before, basically it's a game where you juggle between both a social life as well as a dungeon crawling life. The social life, you have, like, you talk to people, you're in high school, you meet up with friends and whatnot, and you try and take down the hearts of rotten adults. You talk to various people, you make friendships and whatnot, or, well, I guess deals in this case. And then you also go into dungeons and you go fight demons and stuff like that and change rotten people's hearts and whatnot. I don't really think I need to explain too much of it, but trust me, it's really solid. And visually, this game is just gorgeous. Not just graphically, but the style of this game is just so good. I mean, to be fair, though, everyone's talked about it. But let's talk about the performance, because this is what I want to kind of focus on a bit more. And the performance for the game is actually pretty good, honestly. Honestly, it's much better than I thought it would be. I was scared that this game was going to have long load times because the Switch version of Persona 5 Strikers, that game had some long load times. But this game actually loads really well. Pretty much as good as the PS4 version. And I'd say it's pretty solid overall. And even like visually, it just looks really good. While yes, the models and environments aren't the most sharp they could be, they still look really solid. And all of like the textures and like the character portraits and all like the texture 2D stuff still looks really, really solid. Even the animated cutscenes honestly look better than that of the game, of the actual gameplay. But we'll get into that in a little bit later. And also I want to mention handheld mode as well, which I'm sure people are wondering about. It's really good. It looks really good on the small screen as well. Now, one thing to keep in mind though is that the game only runs at 30 FPS on Switch. I believe it's different on other versions of the game, but considering that the PS4 version of Royal ran at 30 FPS, I'm not really too concerned over this. So yeah, the performance and presentation of this game is rock solid. Now moving on to the story, I kind of mentioned it before, but I'll get in a little more detail. Basically, you play as Joker, whether it's Akira or Ren, whatever you want to call him, moves into, well, Tokyo, Japan, and has to and finds friends and whatnot and then eventually comes across a strange world where he then becomes a phantom thief and finds other phantom thieves as well along the way. And then they change the hearts of corrupt adults and, well, help society be a little better than it is. Because, well, society isn't necessarily the best. I'm not going to get too deep into it because there's a lot to talk about. But I will say that the story of this game is absolutely solid. Now moving on to the gameplay. Like I said before, this game is split between both social sim and dungeon crawling stuff. The social sim stuff is more so like a visual novel game. You choose which people you want to talk to or what various things you want to do. You can talk to people, and which brings us to confidants, which are the people that are closest to you that can help you out during the dungeon crawling stuff. It's a good idea to talk to them because they have their own storylines and stuff that happens with them that's really cool. And there's also other stuff you can do as well, such as having these 5 stats, these known as social stats, that you gotta increase in order to do various things, such as progressing other people's confidence. You can do stuff like reading a book, playing a video game, watching a movie, or playing darts or whatever. That you can just do that stuff and it raises your stuff, whether it's like proficiency, kindness, charm, or whatever. But now moving on to the dungeon crawling aspect, this is where the game gets its RPG stuff from because it's basically RPG like. Well, you have the normal palaces, which are basically this game's dungeons in the game and whatnot. You run around the dungeons, you traverse them, you go through battles, you try and exploit the enemy's weakness in turn-based battles. You can all out attack them to get the insta win. You can talk to them if you want to actually get them as a part of your personas, which forgot to mention personas. You can summon personas, but you can also catch personas yourself by knocking them down, exploiting the weakness. It's typical Megami Tensei stuff. And yeah, really, there's not a lot to say, and that's a pretty abridged summary of what really happens in the game, but it's really, really good. It is absolutely the kind of thing that you'd want to play for a long time. So gameplay-wise, absolutely rock solid. And control-wise, the game controls just fine. And moving on to the content now, this game is priced at $60, and there has been deals in the past for the PS4 version that have priced the game at like $20, so I could see some people getting mad at the fact that Atlus is overcharging for this game, and while I can kind of understand, I honestly don't care. I will buy this game again to play it. And also, this version of the game specifically actually comes with all the DLC. I know the PS5 and Xbox versions do, but I played the PS4 version first, and the Switch version actually does come with all the DLC, minus the Rido DLC, but I never used it, so it doesn't upset me too much. But it's still really cool to have all the DLC there, and in terms of content, I mean, this is like one of the longest games out there. It will probably take you at least 100 hours to beat this game for your first time, which is a lot of playtime. So, really, content-wise, there's not much to say. You get a lot. And in terms of the music, all this game's music is absolutely gorgeous. One of my favorite soundtracks of all time, simply put. That's really all I have to say for that. And now moving on to my final thoughts. I know this video was relatively short, but then again, I was kind of just covering the basics and whatnot and what I thought of them on a basic level. Again, if you want to watch a more in-depth review, I made one a long time ago, which is much better. You can check that out. But this is more so a video just me talking about the port job and kind of how I think Atlus did it. And I think Atlus did an absolutely great job with this Switch port. It's kind of surprising. Like, we were wondering for the longest time if Atlus would ever port Persona 5 or make it not PlayStation exclusive, but it's finally happened, and I'm so glad that they treated it the way they should have. It is absolutely phenomenal. And honestly, that's why on my scale of 0 to 10, I put Persona 5 Royal at a solid 9.6 out of 10. It is without a doubt my favorite game of all time. It's so good, and the Switch version just absolutely pleased me. It was so great to hear that it was actually a good port. It had proper performance. It didn't take too long to load things. It's just amazing. If you have not played this game before, now is your chance. You can't make the joke anymore. You can't make the excuse of you don't have the system, because it's on everything now. So go play it if you haven't already, please. But those are my thoughts on the game, of course. Let me know what your thoughts are on the game, and let me know what version of the game you played, whether it's the PS4 version like myself before, or if you're playing any of the different versions. And if that is the case, let me know how those versions fare. And if you want to see more Persona content on my channel, I admittedly don't have a lot planned, but even so, consider hitting the like and subscribe button. It lets me know you want to see more. And with that being said, this is NCSO7 signing out. Peace out and take care, everybody.